"This is ridiculous, Sarah," my father said, setting down his wine glass with enough force to make the silverware rattle. "You're throwing away a perfectly good career for what? Some internet business?" I sat at our family's ornate dining table, trying to keep my expression neutral as my father's words cut through me. The weekly Sunday dinner had turned into yet another interrogation about my life choices. The familiar scent of my mother's pot roast filled the air, but my appetite had vanished. "Dad, I've done my research." I began, keeping my voice steady. "The market for sustainable home products is growing, and my prototype, my brother Marcus interrupted with a snort. "You mean those eco-friendly cleaning supplies you're mixing up in your garage? Come on, sis, be realistic." My mother reached across the table, patting my hand in that condescending way that made me feel like a child. "Sweetheart, we just want what's best for you. Your position at Anderson and Mills is so prestigious. Why would you give up being a senior marketing executive to sell soap?" I pulled my hand away, my fingers curling into a fist under the table. They didn't understand, or maybe they didn't want to understand. My little project was more than just cleaning supplies. I'd spent months developing a line of completely biodegradable household products that actually worked, something the market desperately needed. "It's not just soap, Mom," I said, fighting to keep the frustration out of my voice. "It's a whole line of eco-friendly household products. The formulas are unique. I've already filed for patents. And I'm not just selling them myself. I'm building a subscription-based platform that—" "Subscription platform?" My father scoffed, reaching for the wine bottle. "Sarah, you're 32 years old. It's time to be serious about your future. This little hobby of yours." He waved his hand dismissively. "It's cute, but it's not a real business." Marcus leaned back in his chair, that familiar smirk playing on his lips. "Dad's right, sis. Leave the entrepreneurship to people who know what they're doing. Stick to what you're good at, making PowerPoint presentations for real businesses." The jab stung more than I wanted to admit. Marcus had always been the successful one in our family's eyes. His job as an investment banker meant he could do no wrong, even though I knew half his success came from our father's connections. My mother jumped in again, her voice honey-sweet but her words sharp. "Your brother has a point, dear. Not everyone is cut out to run a business. There's no shame in that. And Anderson and Mills pays you so well." I pushed my plate away, my mother's perfectly cooked roast now completely unappetizing. "I've already given my notice," I said quietly. The silence that followed was deafening. My father's face turned that particular shade of red that always preceded one of his lectures. My mother's hand flew to her pearls, her signature move when she was about to express her disappointment. Marcus just smirked wider, clearly enjoying the show. "You what?" My father finally managed, his voice dangerously low. "I gave my notice." I repeated, stronger this time. "My last day is in 2 weeks. I've saved enough to cover my expenses for the next year, and I've already secured some initial interest from several retailers." "Interest doesn't pay bills, Sarah," my father snapped. "This is exactly your problem. You don't think things through. You live in this fantasy world where everyone wants to buy overpriced, eco-friendly products. The market research shows." "Market research," Marcus interrupted again. "Let me guess, you Googled green cleaning products and decided you could compete with actual companies. This isn't a game, Sarah. Real businesses require real experience, real connections. Like the connections Dad gave you." The words slipped out before I could stop them. Marcus's face darkened. "I earned my position." "Enough." My father's voice boomed across the table. He fixed me with that disappointed stare I'd grown so familiar with over the years. "Sarah, this conversation is over. You will not quit your job for this ridiculous scheme. I forbid it." I almost laughed at that. "Forbid it? Dad, I'm not 16 anymore. You can't forbid me from doing anything." "No, but I can tell you exactly what's going to happen," he said, leaning forward. "You'll quit your job, burn through your savings trying to sell these little homemade products of yours, and in 6 months you'll come crawling back, begging for help finding another position. And do you know what will happen then?" I met his gaze, refusing to look away. "What, Dad?" "You'll have destroyed your career for nothing. No reputable company will touch you after you've wasted time playing entrepreneur. You'll end up having to start over at entry level. If you're lucky." He sat back, satisfied with his prediction. "Is that what you want?" "Your father's right," my mother chimed in. "Think about your future, dear. What about marriage? What man wants to marry a woman who makes soap in her garage? I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. I have thought about my future. That's exactly why I'm doing this. And I'm not asking for your permission or your approval. I'm telling you what I'm doing. Then you're a fool, my father said flatly. Don't come crying to us when this all falls apart. I won't, I replied, grabbing my purse. Because it's not going to fall apart. As I walked toward the door, Marcus called out, "Hey sis, when your little soap company fails, maybe I can hire you as my secretary." I didn't dignify that with a response. The sound of their laughter followed me out into the cool evening air. But I held my head high. They could laugh all they wanted. I knew something they didn't. I was going to succeed, not just to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. That night, as I sat in my apartment reviewing my business plan for the 100th time, their words kept echoing in my head. But instead of discouraging me, they fueled my determination. Every spreadsheet, every projection, every carefully crafted marketing strategy reminded me that I wasn't just chasing a dream. I was building something real. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Emma. "How'd it go with the family?" I typed back, "About as well as expected. They think I'm crazy." Her response came quickly. "They thought Edison was crazy too. You've got this. Need help with production tomorrow?" I smiled, grateful for the one person who supported me from the start. Emma had been my guinea pig for every formula, helping me perfect each product until it was better than anything on the market. She believed in me even when my own family didn't. "Thanks," I replied, "but I've got a meeting with that retail chain tomorrow." Rain check. "A meeting? That's huge. Why didn't you tell your family about that?" I sighed, setting down my phone. I hadn't told them because they wouldn't have cared. To them, I was just playing at being a businesswoman. They couldn't see what I saw: the gap in the market, the growing demand for truly sustainable products, the potential for something revolutionary. The next morning, I stood in my garage-turned laboratory surrounded by my prototypes. Each bottle, each formula represented countless hours of research and development. I'd invested every spare moment of the past year into perfecting these products, working late into the night after my day job, spending weekends testing and retesting until everything was exactly right. My phone buzzed again, a reminder for my meeting with Green Living Essentials, one of the largest eco-friendly retail chains in the country. I'd managed to get a meeting with their purchasing director through sheer persistence and a carefully crafted pitch deck. This could be the break I needed. As I got ready, I thought about my father's words from the night before. He was right about one thing: this wasn't a game. But he was wrong about everything else. This wasn't a hobby or a fantasy or a ridiculous scheme. This was my future, and I was ready to fight for it. I grabbed my samples and my presentation materials, taking one last look around my garage workspace. Soon, if everything went according to plan, I'd need a much bigger facility. But for now, this was where my dream was taking shape, one eco-friendly product at a time. The meeting with Green Living Essentials went better than I could have hoped. Sarah Chin, the purchasing director, was impressed not just with my products but with my entire business model. "The subscription platform is brilliant," she said, examining one of my all-purpose cleaners. "And these formulas, they're unlike anything we've seen. You said you filed for patents." I nodded, trying to contain my excitement. "Yes, all the formulas are patent pending. I've developed a unique process that makes them more effective than traditional cleaning products while being completely biodegradable." She set down the bottle and looked at me seriously. "We'd like to start with a trial run in our West Coast stores. If the sales data is good, we can discuss a national rollout." My heart nearly stopped. "A national rollout?" "Your timing is perfect," she continued. "Our customers are demanding more sustainable options, and your products fill a gap in our current offerings. Plus, the subscription model could be a game changer." I left the meeting with a purchase order for the trial run and a head spinning with possibilities. This was really happening. My little project was about to be in stores across the West Coast. But as I drove home, reality set in. To fulfill this order, I'd need to scale up production significantly. My garage operation wouldn't cut it anymore. I'd need space, equipment, staff, and fast. I spent the next week reaching out to investors, refinancing my condo, and putting together a business plan that would make this work. Every spare moment was dedicated to finding solutions to the countless challenges ahead. My family, meanwhile, remained blissfully unaware of these developments. At the next Sunday dinner, they continued their campaign of doubt and disapproval. Have you started looking for new jobs yet? My mother asked, passing the salad bowl. I heard Anderson and Mills already replaced you. I'm a bit busy with other things right now, I replied vaguely, serving myself a small portion. Marcus snorted. Yeah, busy making soap. How's that going, sis? Sold any yet? I thought about the purchase order sitting in my briefcase, about the meetings I had scheduled with potential investors, about the warehouse space I was negotiating for. But I said nothing. Let them think what they wanted. Soon enough, they'd see the truth. Sarah, my father said, his tone serious. It's been 3 weeks. This little experiment of yours has gone on long enough. It's time to face reality. I met his gaze across the table. You're right, Dad. It is time to face reality. Just maybe not the reality you're thinking of. He opened his mouth to respond, but I was already standing up. I need to go. I have an early meeting tomorrow. A meeting? Marcus laughed. With who? Your soap bottles? I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, their laughter following me once again. But this time, I was smiling. They had no idea what was coming. The next few months were a blur of activity. The warehouse space I found needed renovation to meet production standards. I hired my first employees, 3 production workers and a quality control manager. Emma quit her job to join me as operations director, believing in the company enough to take the leap with me. The trial run with Green Living Essentials was a massive success. Our products flew off the shelves and the subscription service gained traction faster than we projected. Customer reviews were overwhelmingly positive, with people raving about how well the products worked and how good they felt about using them. But scaling up wasn't without its challenges. There were countless sleepless nights, production issues to solve, supply chain problems to navigate. Every day brought new obstacles, but also new opportunities. I threw myself into every aspect of the business, learning as I went. When our first batch of labels arrived with errors, I stayed up all night reprinting them myself. When our initial shipping system proved inadequate, I spent a weekend coding a better solution. Every problem was a chance to prove my father wrong, to show that I could handle real business. Through it all, I kept quiet about our progress. My family assumed my silence meant failure, that I was too embarrassed to admit they were right. At Sunday dinners, they'd stopped asking about the business directly, instead making pointed comments about job openings they'd heard about. Jennifer's daughter is hiring at her consulting firm, my mother mentioned one evening. She said she'd be happy to look at your resume. I pushed my food around my plate. That's nice, Mom, but I'm good. Good, my father scoffed. You're working out of your garage selling homemade cleaning products. That's not good, Sarah. That's denial. If only they knew about the warehouse, the employees, the sales figures that exceeded even my optimistic projections. But I kept quiet. The time wasn't right yet. Then came the call that changed everything. Green Living Essentials wanted to roll out our products nationally immediately. They were willing to invest in our expansion, offering a deal that would value the company at over $5 million. I sat in my office, my real office, not my garage, staring at the contract. $5 million. The number seemed surreal. But the validation wasn't just in the money, it was in knowing that I'd been right. My little project wasn't just succeeding, it was thriving. That Sunday, I drove to my parents' house for dinner with a copy of the contract in my bag. As usual, the conversation revolved around everyone else's successes. Marcus's latest deal, my cousin's promotion, my mother's charity work. Finally, my father turned to me with that pitying look I'd grown so tired of. Sarah, your mother and I have been talking. We think it's time for an intervention. I raised an eyebrow. An intervention. This has gone on long enough, he continued. You're not a businesswoman, Sarah. You're a marketing executive. A good one. And you're throwing away your career for this soap-making hobby. Marcus chimed in. We're worried about you, sis. This isn't healthy, pretending you're some kind of entrepreneur. I looked around the table at their concerned faces, so certain they knew what was best for me. For a moment, I considered walking away again, letting them continue in their ignorance. But no, it was time they knew the truth. I reached into my bag and pulled out the contract, sliding it across the table to my father. Before you continue with this intervention, you might want to read this. My father picked up the contract, his reading glasses perched on the edge of his nose. I watched as his expression shifted from condescension to confusion to disbelief. His hands started trembling slightly as he turned the pages. This can't be right, he muttered, looking up at me. $5 million. Marcus nearly choked on his wine. What? My mother's hand flew to her pearls. What are you talking about? Green Living Essentials, I said calmly, taking a sip of my water. They're rolling out my products nationally. This contract values my company at $5 million. They're investing in our expansion. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus snatched the contract from our father's hands, his eyes scanning the pages frantically. This has to be a mistake, he said. There's no way your little soap company is worth $5 million. It's not just soap, I replied, my voice steady. It's a full line of eco-friendly household products, with patents pending on all our formulas. We've been in their West Coast stores for months now. The sales numbers exceeded all projections. My father's face had turned an interesting shade of red, but for once it wasn't from anger. He looked stunned. You've been running this operation all this time, while you thought I was failing. I finished for him. Yes. I have a warehouse, employees, a complete production facility. We're shipping thousands of units a week, and our subscription service has over 10,000 active members. My mother's mouth opened and closed several times before she found her voice. But why didn't you tell us? I looked at her steadily. Would you have believed me? You all made it pretty clear what you thought about my little project. Marcus was still staring at the contract, his banker's brain probably calculating the numbers. This is legitimate, he said finally, his voice small. This is a real valuation from a major retailer. Of course it's legitimate, I said, taking the contract back. Everything I've done has been legitimate. Not that any of you bothered to ask. My father cleared his throat, clearly struggling to find words. Sarah, we didn't. Didn't what, Dad? Didn't think I could succeed. Didn't believe in me? Didn't think I was capable of running a real business? I kept my tone level. But years of dismissal and mockery fueled my words. We were worried about you, my mother interjected. We just wanted you to be secure, to have a stable career. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, Mom. You wanted me to stay in my safe, comfortable box. You couldn't imagine that I might be capable of more than that. Now, Sarah, my father started, his authoritative tone creeping back in. There's no need to be bitter. We were just trying to protect you. Protect me? I raised an eyebrow. From what? Success? Independence? The satisfaction of building something meaningful. Marcus finally found his voice again. Come on, sis. You have to admit this was a long shot. Nobody could have predicted. You're right. I cut him off. Nobody in this family could have predicted it, because none of you believed in me. None of you even tried to understand what I was building. I stood up, gathering my things. The expansion deal closes next week. I have a lot of work to do. Wait, my father said, standing up as well. Sarah, please, let's talk about this. Maybe I could help with the negotiations, or... Now you want to help? I shook my head. I've handled everything else on my own. I think I can manage this too. As I walked toward the door, my mother called out, Sarah, don't go. We're celebrating. Let me open some champagne. I turned back to face them. Celebrating what, Mom? The success you mocked? The dream you dismissed? The work you belittled? No, thank you. I'll celebrate with the people who believed in me from the start. The drive home that night was surreal. For months, I'd imagined the moment I finally showed my family what I'd built, but the reality felt hollow. Their shock and sudden interest in my success couldn't erase years of doubt and dismissal. When I got home, I found Emma waiting on my doorstep with a bottle of champagne. Well, she asked, grinning. How'd it go? I unlocked the door, letting us both in. About as well as you'd expect. They're shocked. Dad's trying to take control. Mom wants to celebrate like she supported me all along. And Marcus can't believe his little sister out-earned him. Emma popped the champagne, pouring us each a glass. And how do you feel? I thought about it as I sank into my couch. Validated, I guess. But also sad. I don't know. I thought proving them wrong would feel better than this. Because deep down, you wanted them to believe in you, not just your success. Emma said softly. She was right, of course. All those Sunday dinners, all those dismissive comments, all the laughter and mockery. I told myself I was above it, that I didn't need their approval. But some part of me had always hoped they'd see what I saw, believed in what I was building. The next week was a whirlwind of activity. The expansion deal required countless meetings, legal reviews, and planning sessions. My father called daily, leaving messages about his contacts who could help with the negotiations. Marcus suddenly wanted to discuss investment opportunities. My mother told all her friends about her daughter, the successful entrepreneur, conveniently forgetting how she dismissed my business as a hobby. I ignored most of their calls, focusing instead on my team, the people who believed in the vision and worked alongside me to make it reality. We were scaling up operations, hiring more staff, and planning our national rollout. Success was bringing new challenges, but for the first time, I felt truly confident in my ability to handle them. Then came the day of the contract signing. I arrived at the Green Living Essentials headquarters early, dressed in my best suit, ready to take my company to the next level. To my surprise, I found my entire family waiting in the lobby. "What are you doing here?" I asked, stopping short. My father stepped forward, looking uncomfortable in a way I'd never seen before. "Sarah, please. Let us be here for this. I was wrong. About everything." I crossed my arms. And he continued, his voice catching slightly, "I've never been more proud of anyone in my life. What you've built, it's extraordinary. Not because of the money, but because you did it your way, despite everything we said." My mother was crying quietly, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. Marcus looked at the floor, shuffling his feet. "Sarah," my mother said, "we know we can't take back what we said, how we treated your dreams. But please, let us share this moment with you. Let us celebrate who you are, not who we thought you should be." I looked at them, really looked at them. My father, his usual confidence replaced by genuine remorse. My mother, her perfectly composed facade cracking with emotion. Even Marcus, his arrogance gone, replaced by what looked like respect. For a moment, I considered turning them away. They hadn't earned the right to share this triumph. But then I thought about what success really meant. It wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about being bigger than their doubt, stronger than their dismissal. "Okay," I said finally, "you can stay. But understand something. This is my moment, not yours. I built this company without your help or support, and I'll continue to run it my way." My father nodded solemnly. We wouldn't expect anything else. The signing ceremony was everything I dreamed of and more. As I put my name on the contract that would take my company national, I felt the weight of the past year, all the doubt, all the mockery, all the sleepless nights and endless work, lift from my shoulders. Afterward, at the celebration lunch, my father stood to make a toast. The old me would have tensed, waiting for some backhanded compliment or subtle dig. But as I looked at him now, I saw something different in his eyes. "To my daughter," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "who taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. That success isn't about following someone else's path. It's about having the courage to forge your own. Sarah, you didn't just build a company. You showed us all what it means to believe in yourself when no one else does." I was wrong, and I have never been happier to admit it. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I held them back. This wasn't about their approval anymore. It was about something bigger. The realization that sometimes the people who doubt you the most can become your biggest supporters, but only after you prove you never needed their support in the first place. That evening, as I sat in my office overlooking the city, I thought about how far I'd come. The garage workspace was now a state-of-the-art production facility. The little project was now $1 million company. And the daughter they dismissed as a dreamer was now a CEO they had to respect. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "Dinner to celebrate. The whole team wants to toast their fearless leader." I smiled, thinking about my real family, the people who believed in me, worked with me, supported me when it mattered most. "On my way," I replied. As I gathered my things, my eye caught the framed photo on my desk. The first bottle of cleaning solution I ever made, labeled with a handwritten sticker in my messy scrawl. I kept it as a reminder of where I started, but now it meant something more. It was proof that sometimes the biggest success stories start in a garage, with nothing but a dream and the determination to prove everyone wrong. My father's words from that first Sunday dinner echoed in my mind. Don't come crying to us when this all falls apart. I smiled, grabbing my keys. They were right about one thing. Everything did fall apart. Their expectations, their doubts, their certainty about what I could and couldn't achieve. It all crumbled in the face of what I built. But that's the thing about success. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for approval. It simply demands that you believe in yourself enough to prove everyone else wrong. As I walked out of my office that night, I thought about all the other dreamers out there, facing their own Sunday dinners, their own doubting families, their own uphill battles. I hope they would remember what I learned, that sometimes the people who laugh at your dreams are the ones who will cheer the loudest when you achieve them. Not because they believed in you, but because you believed in yourself enough for everyone. And in the end, that's what makes success truly sweet. Not proving others wrong, but proving yourself right.